everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Crimson, and in this video I am doing yet another Warhammer army showcase. This is my newest army and most likely my final army, and that is the Night Lords. I really like them a lot, and before we actually get into the units, there's just a little bit of stuff I want to talk about, both about why I chose the Night Lords and why I went for a Chaos Marine army altogether. So let's start with the Chaos. So if you have been following my channel and have been watching my Warhammer Army Showcase videos, you will have seen that all of my armies are Imperium units, and I never ever thought that I would buy or start a Chaos Space Marine army, just because I do not like Chaos at all. I don't like demons, I don't like any of that stuff. So then, if I don't like Chaos and I don't like demons, why did I choose the Night Lords? And this is going to get into the Night Lords history a little bit. So let's go into that. So the Night Lords are the 8th legion of the 20 legions. Their Primarch is Conrad Kurz, who is my favorite Primarch. I'm actually really trying to find the Horus Heresy models just so I can add them to the army. Not even so I can use them, but just so that I can have him, because I absolutely adore Kurz. So they fell to Chaos, but not really. They didn't fall to a specific god like, say, the World Eaters or to Chaos Undivided. They are much more of a renegade Space Marine faction rather than a Chaos Space Marine legion. While they do fight on the side of Chaos, one of the major things about the Night Lords, and one of the main reasons I like them so much, is as a legion they absolutely despise both the Ruinous Powers, aka the Chaos Gods, and demons. They do not like that at all. Now, there are individuals in the Night Lords who are fully on board with the Chaos and, becoming demons, getting power from the gods, but as a legion, the general thing is that they do not like demons, and they see anyone who goes and starts worshipping the Chaos Gods to gain power as a weakness, almost like a drug addiction. So previously I had no interest in a Chaos Space Marine army at all. That was until I read the Night Lords Omnibus trilogy, and I think I can speak for a lot of Night Lords players when I say that this trilogy of books is the reason I have this army. These books are not just good Warhammer books, they are among the best Warhammer books I have ever read, and they are just some of the best science fiction that I have ever read. They are truly incredible novels, and I have read a lot of Warhammer books, and none have even come close to the Night Lords trilogy. The main character is Talos Valkarin, and he is stubbornly against Chaos, even going so far as to refuse the Chaos Gods outright, telling them to essentially go and F themselves, which is really funny. Now, there are characters in the books that are worshippers of different Chaos Gods. There is a character named Uzas, who is a Cornate Berserker, and there is a character named Syrian, who on the down low worships Slanesh, so that he can experience the fear of mortals. But those books are what got me fully into the Night Lords as a faction and what made me decide to start the army. So let me know in the comments, and I'm not just saying this for engagement, if you play Night Lords or are starting a Night Lords army, did you decide on the Night Lords for your army because of those books? Because I did, and almost everyone I talked to is the exact same. So with that out of the way, that essentially sums up the Night Lords. They are more of a renegade Space Marine faction who fights on the side of chaos because of how the Imperium persecuted their Gene-sire, Conrad Kurz. And they do not like demons, they do not like anything Chaos God related. Now, in my army, because of this, I do not have any demon engines or any demonic units. I have some possessed and a demon prince, but my reasoning for that is that they were space marines who became corrupted rather than demons themselves. There is one singular unit in this army that is a demon, but the unit itself is not a demon. The unit itself is the rider of the demon. So, still cool, but I mainly just got him just because I did really like the models. I do actually really like the Demon Engine models, especially the Venom Crawler, but I want to keep my army as low accurate as possible. So with that out of the way, let's get started and dive into the army. Now, just before we get into it, I forgot to say in the last part, so this is my first army that I did paint all of my units. However, this is the first army that I actually bought pre-painted custom units. 5 chosen and 1 master of executions, but I will get into those when we get into them, or when we get to them, and I will explain why, and I will give credit to the artist and person who I bought them from. They are absolutely incredible models. And the other thing is the bases. So, in all of my other videos, I have said that while I have painted all of my army, I did not paint or make the bases, that the bases came from Etsy. So all of my units in this army have snow bases, and this actually became out of an accident. So I had intended on having the bases being like dystopian street bases, like Nostromo, but I couldn't get them in time, and I had a couple of snow bases laying around, and I decided to use those for my army. And I don't know why, but I actually found the snow bases to be very, very fitting for the Night Lords, so then I gave my entire army snow bases, and you will see them more in depth when we get into the units breakdown. But yeah, so with that out of the way, let us get started. So first up, I want to show you these 2 units. So these are my 2 main Chaos Lords. So this guy was a custom kit bash that I did. He has a plasma pistol and a cursed demonic sword. I don't know if you can see in the chest, but he has a little screaming face in his armor, which is amazing. And this model is just so detailed. There are some amazing sprues on Etsy that you can get for there are some amazing sprues you can get on Etsy that just really add to some bits that you can add to your Night Lords, and as you can see, this is one of the snow-based models. The other one is this guy. This is actually my most recent Chaos Lord. So he is not a kit bash, he is actually the most current Chaos Lord model. And he has the standard Night Lord's helmet, or the new Night Lord's helmet, as does this guy. There are many different types of Night Lord's helmets. I gave him a red cloak instead of a flayed skin cloak, and I gave him dual lightning claws, as I just thought that would be fitting for the Night Lords. Now, he and a few other models on their trophy racks have different heads, but I have given a few of them Tau heads or helmets, and this is because one of the people that I play against in my local game store, who is basically my friend, plays Tau, so I basically just did this for psychological warfare, and you know what? It works, and I absolutely love this model so much. That is one thing about the Night Lords that you will see as we get further in. The amount of creative freedom you have from customizing your models is so much better than Imperium units. But yeah, those are just the two standard Chaos Lords that I just wanted to quickly show. So let's get on to the main units. So these are my Legionaries. So Legionaries are the equivalent of Intercessors for Space Marines. They are just your standard run-of-the-mill infantry. They are not bad by any means, but they don't do or have anything special, and they come equipped with fairly basic weapons. So bolters, pistols, chainswords, melters, flamers, and all kind of stuff. There are actually a few that I just want to showcase, such as, where is he? Such as this guy who has the Balefire and the Balefire Tome. The Balefire is essentially turns this guy into like a little mini Psyker. And there's some other ones here that you can see. Some of them have heavy cannons, like this guy. Some of them have melee weapons, like this guy with his axe. And yeah, it is just really, really good. So, I also just wanted to quickly showcase this model, who is one of my favorite Legionaries. I have the Nemesis Dread. I have the Night Lords Kill Team. I actually can't remember what it's called. It's the Nemesis Club. And I use them as both standard Legionaries and as Chosen, but we'll get into what the Chosen are in a little bit. But I just really like this guy's look with kind of like the hood over his helmet. Are there any other models that I just want to quickly showcase? Here's another guy who has a little bit of Balefire. And also you might notice throughout this entire army that a lot of the helmets are different. So I have a mixture of standard Chaos Space Marine units painted as for Night Lords. I have the newest Night Lords helmets. I have some of the Forge World Night Lords parts, including helmets, which is what this one here is. And I have some of the older looking models or helmets that I got off of Archie's Forge. Now, leading these guys, this is going to follow the same kind of format as my other videos with the units. By the way, I have 30 of the Legionaries, which is the maximum amount. And then I will show you the people leading them. Now, these are not necessarily the people that I would have leading them in a game, but I just wanted to spread them out evenly. So we'll start off with this guy. So this is a master of execution. He grants a very, very good melee buff to units. So having him with any kind of infantry, so chosen or legionaries, is very good. And I absolutely love the bone shoulder on him. Next we have this guy. So this is a sorcerer. So he is just a standard sorcerer with the same helmet that we just saw. This is his staff. You can see he has this nice little burgundy cloak. And yeah, these guys are really good for leading both legionaries and possessed, as they grant psychic buffs, which paired with the balefire units are very, very potent. And lastly, leading these guys, I have First Captain Sevatar of the Night Lords, who I use as a Chaos Lord. So he was the first captain of the Night Lords during the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy. He is believed dead, and I use him as a Chaos Lord, as I had said. I just adore this model. It is so, so good. It comes with a bigger base, with like a little diorama of him standing on top of stairs with a dead Space Marine at the foot of the stairs. But then you have this piece, which you actually just use to play. So he has this pistol, he has his massive spear, and yeah, I love Sevatar so much. I painted his cloak to kind of be a mixture of, you can't really tell, is it skin, is it red cloth, what is it? But Sevatar is an absolute, beast. I don't like using the term monster because, he is very loyal, but he is ruthless to the core. But those are my legionaries. So next up, we have my raptors. So raptors are the jump pack unit, or one of the two jump pack units. They are the equivalent of jump pack intercessors for Space Marines. And they come mainly equipped with a bolt or plasma pistol in one hand. So this guy has a plasma pistol and a chain sword in the other, or some kind of sword in the other hand. I have 20 of these guys, which I believe is enough. This guy has, a much decorated chainsword with a bolt pistol. And some of the loadouts are really good. So they do have, this is the standard loadout, a sword and either a bolt or plasma pistol. But they are also able to be equipped with melters, which is so cool. So I don't have many with melters. I actually believe this is my only one. I might have another one somewhere. But yeah, these are my raptors, and I absolutely love them. I have tried not to go full overkill with this army as I have with some of the others. But yeah, I think 20 is a good number. So who is leading the raptors? So first up, we have our Chaos Lord with Jump Pack. So he is the leader that you use for the Jump Pack units. So this model I equipped with a lightning claw and a plasma pistol. And you can see I added some skin hanging off and on the ground on the back. But yeah, I love this model to bits. Next, we have the other type of jump pack Chaos Lord. So whereas this guy is the official Games Workshop model, which you can buy from Games Workshop, This guy is the Forge World Jump Pack Chaos Lord. So as you can see, he has a much different helmet, much different look and shoulder pauldrons. He carries this massive two-handed, I don't know if this is a chain glaive or a massive chain sword. I really like this model. It's one of those units that you don't see that often, and having him in my army is so cool. So he has a different type of jump pack. He has the one with just like the singular exhaust port. But yeah, I love him to bits. And let's just compare. So this is his jump pack. And then this guy just has like the standard jump pack equipped. So that is it for my Raptors. Next over here we have the Warp Talons, which are another type of jump pack unit. So what is the difference between the Raptors and the Warp Talons? So the Warp Talons are beings who have been corrupted by the warp. They are much better in melee combat, very much so over the Raptors, where the Raptors are much more of a good standard dedicated unit. All of them have dual lightning claws, if I can find one here. This is one of them. I don't know if I can get it to focus. But yeah, there's not much more to say on them. I do want to show off a couple, so I wanted to show off this unit. This is a helmet that I got from Archie's Forge with the massive wings. I know this is a very old school look and kind of cartoony, but I think it just adds so much character. And as you can see, they have the, lightning claws. Now, another ability of the, Warp Talons is they are able to jump in and out of the warp, so they don't have to rely on movement alone like the Warp Talons, but like the Raptors, but they're able to teleport around and do all kinds of warp-based nonsense, which is amazing. You can teleport behind the guy and then just gut him with your lightning claws. Really, really cool unit. Now, the only downside to these guys is there is no unit that officially can lead them as of the time of me recording. So they don't have any leader units that you can use with them. Now, technically, in casual games, you could use a jump pack captain for it, but just as a general model type or unit type, they don't actually have any units that can lead them or give them any buffs, which is a downside to this unit. So that is the first, they're done. So let's move on to the second. So these are my chosen. So the chosen are the elite infantry of Chaos Space Marines, and I love them to bits. Some of them have melee weapons. Most have a similar loadout to the Raptors, with a pistol, be a bolt or plasma, and a melee weapon. But the melee weapons have much more options available. So I want to show you just a couple of examples of some of my chosen. So I have this guy here with a plasma pistol and a massive power fist with a warp infused injury on his hand. I have this guy who I really like. Has this massive trophy rack plasma pistol and an accursed kind of bludgeoning weapon. Let's see what else is there. There is this guy who is a absolute demon unit. He has dual lightning claws, which are legal for this unit type. What else do I want to try and find? I forgot to say, this guy also has a massive trophy rack, including a Tau helmet and Tau skin. That is Tau skin on that banner. I have this unit, which is probably one of my favorite standard Chaos Space Marine Chosen. His model is just so cool. So he has a bolt pistol and a I don't know what that is. It's some kind of bludgeoning weapon. But why I like him is how tall he is, and he has this massive trophy rack with flags and this huge cape. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. There's just a few others I want to show you. I want to show you this guy, who just has a really cool helmet. And this guy, who just has a standard, this is like a standard chosen unit with just the bolt pistol and chain sword. But I believe that is it for the standard units that I have. I do have another guy, I don't know if I'll be able to find him, who has a power fist, but yeah, I probably won't be able to find him, but these are my chosen, and I have 30 of these guys. So, leading my chosen, I just have 4 units here. So first off, we have this guy. He is an aspiring champion. Now, he does not really get that many buffs, or really any buffs, but this is a custom model that I built, and I just think it looks so cool with the axe and the knife, so I use him as kind of like a sergeant in a way. And there is also this guy, who is another aspiring champion. This guy I based off Talos Valkyrin from the Night Lord's books with his golden Blood Angel's sword. So you can see he has the helmet and a plasma pistol. I need to replace that plasma pistol with a stone bolter. Next, we have a sorcerer. So sorcerers are the equivalent of like a librarian. They are your psychic units, and they are very good at leading chosen. This is a custom model that I kit bashed, and as you can see, he has a skull on the end of his knife. Really, really cool unit. I love him a lot. And finally, we have another master of executions. This guy does not have a helmet, but does still boast the axe and the shoulder pad, and I gave him a skin cloak. Now, let's have a look at the 5 chosen that I bought. So these 5 are the custom units that I bought. They were all for sale individually. However, I managed to contact the seller, and we've actually become pretty good friends. And I managed to get them all for a very good price. So let's have a look at them. Okay, so let's have a look at these special chosen that I got off of someone on Instagram. So first up, we have this guy. So this guy is really cool in my opinion. By the way, they all have these amazing power packs, which are great. So first off, he has this little piece of toned skin on his shoulder. He is carrying a a heavy bolter, and has a Primaris helmet, which I think is a really, really nice touch, and you can kind of, I don't know why it's not picking it up, but he has like red eyes and stuff. So he does have a little bit of glue marks on his head, which I need to clean up, but I can do that some other time. So this is the model. This is him with the heavy bolter, with his red eyes, and his Primaris Mark 10 helmet. I love this miniature to death. Next up, we have this guy. So this guy is a Marine. He has a Chaos Space Marine helmet with a massive plume, an axe in one hand and a auto pistol bolter in the other with a comically large magazine. And I really like this model. You know, it's simple. It's the typical chosen loadout of melee in one hand, weapon in the other, and it just suits perfectly. So next we have this guy. So he is a very interesting model. So he has this head which has a hood and then red glasses underneath. In one hand he has what looks like a flaying knife, and in the other he has this kind of fancy looking power sword. I might repaint this just to kind of give it a more grimdark look to fit in with the Night Lords, but personally I actually think it looks pretty cool. And he also has this massive cape. So next we have this guy. So this guy has a launcher. Really cool. His helmet is just like a standard, not standard, but a little bit special of a Space Marine helmet. Not quite a Night Lord's helmet, but unique enough that it really doesn't matter. He has this rocket launcher, and yeah, I just think this guy is great. Now, I know I cannot use the rocket launcher and the heavy bolter for Chosen because those weapons are unavailable for Chosen, but I can use them as Chosen models and then just say, oh, I'm going to use, a different model for them. And then finally, we have my favorite of the bunch. So this guy is, I believe he was named the Screecher. So he has the unhelmeted Night Lord's Nostraman head with the black hair and the black eyes, but an extremely distended jaw. He has this massive, massive mace. He also has his Lightning Claw with a Stormbolt on top of it. So those are the models there. Now, these models were assembled, kit bashed, and painted by Barbaric Period Confessions on Instagram. If you like these models or are interested in having any kind of really unique looking Chaos Space Marine model, I would highly recommend hitting them up, as they don't just do Night Lords, they have lots of other models for different armies, as well as they do commissions. So next up are my Terminators. So I have 25 Terminators, 20 of which are your standard Chaos Space Marine Terminators. However, I do have 5 models from the Horus Heresy, which are some of my favorite, not just Terminators of all time, across all armies, but some of my favorite Night Lords units of all time. So these are the Kenteca Terminators for the Night Lords. Again, these are Horus Heresy models, but they are basically, in my opinion, the best Terminator models available. So this is what they look like here. They have these either heavy chain glaives or these kind of Chaos Marine swords, as well as being covered in skulls and skin and everything. So this guy happens to have a heavy flamer. That's one thing I forgot to say, is that most of the all of the Terminators in the Chaos Space Marine Terminator list either have dual melee or melee and bolter, whereas the Kenteca Terminators have heavy weapons, so heavy Volkite and heavy flamers. So this guy has a chain glaive with a heavy Volkite, and again, as with all of the Kentecas, they have this a really cool skull helmet look. Next is this guy. Again, sword, skulls, skin, heavy flamer. And then finally, second, so chain glaive, skin, skulls, heavy flamer, and more skulls. And lastly is this Kenteca Terminator, which might be my favorite. So he has his massive sword, as well as his heavy Volkite and his decals on the shoulders. They all have these decals on the shoulders. I forgot to mention it, with skin over his not over his head, over his like upper neck armor. Really cool. I love these guys so much. I have 2 heavy Volkites, 3 heavy Flamers, and that is just amazing to have when your Terminators all have either dual Lightning Claws or Lightning Claws and Bolters. But yeah, let us move on. So these are my standard Chaos Terminators. A lot of them just look like this. If I can get the focus. They are admittedly quite old models, but I still really like them. They have these massive trophy racks, and they have the tusked helmets of both the Atramenta, which are the Night Lords Terminators, and Chaos Space Marine Terminators in general. So this guy has dual lightning claws. So like I said, most of them have a melee weapon, which in most cases is a lightning claw, whereas this guy has a multi-melter as well. Really, really cool. And the trophy racks, I did most of their faceplates white with some red eyes, just to kind of make them stand out a little bit more. This guy here has a stone bolter and a massive axe, which is so cool. And for the last 2 models I'm going to show is just this guy with a stone bolter and a cursed sword, which is the chaos equivalent of a power sword. And then this guy who has a heavy cannon on him, which is so cool, and then a power fist. So you really actually get a good amount of variety with them. You can buy the Cataphracti Terminators, which are purely melee based, which I'm actually considering doing, but personally I think I have enough. I think 25 Terminators is good. And Chaos Terminators serve the same function and role as Loyalist Terminators. They are extreme elite infantry with extreme heavy armor, and you know, even 10 of these guys is enough to be a substantial challenge for your opponent, but I, like always, got too many. Now, who is leading these guys? There are actually quite a few units, so let's start off with the Chaos Lord in Terminator armor. So this is him here. You can see that he is a lot fancier. He has a accursed sword with a bolter, much more detail on him, and he has a little cape at the back. Next, we have another Chaos Lord in Terminator, this one being a much older model that I actually got for a really good deal, secondhand, unpainted. He is very simple. He has just this nice brown cloak, which could be skin or fabric, it's really up to me or you, with dual lightning claws. So for our next Terminator leader unit, we have this guy who is a Horus Heresy Praetor in Terminator armor. Now, again, he's a Horus Heresy model, but I use him just as a Chaos Terminator Lord. He has this really cool breastplate with all these skulls and grisly trophies on him. He has this massive spear or axe or scythe, I don't know exactly what it is, along with his bolter, which looks like it actually has plasma in it, which is really, really cool. And lastly, we have this guy. So this guy is not a typical Terminator. He is a sorcerer in Terminator armor. So he acts like a standard sorcerer, but it's just a lot more tougher. And having him lead Terminators gives some really good passive buffs instead of combat buffs, just kind of making them more resilient. In one hand, he has his staff for casting spells. And in the other, I did this is a little bit of a kit bash of him. It's supposed to be like an energy field coming out of his arm casting a spell. It could be better, but I personally really like it, and I gave him this little cape. This did not come with the kit. This I just made from some spare parts, and as always, he has his trophy rack. But that's it for the Terminators, so let's move on. So I forgot to include this in the video, and loads ever got. So he is equipped with, I can't tell if this is meant to be a power fist or lightning claws, but his main weapon that the unit is famous for is this combi bolter. So this is a bolter combined with a flamer, and yeah, and this model is just so cool. So next up we have my Havocs. So I have 10 Havocs, and a Havoc unit is a specialized heavy weapons squad. So these guys can carry from stuff like auto cannons, heavy bolters, las cannons, and each one gives a specific use. Now I gave most of mine las cannons, as I mainly wanted them to be primarily anti-tank, but there are some with heavy bolters and auto cannons as well as the Havoc Champion. So let's just have a quick look at one of each. So this guy here has the auto cannon, which excels at taking out light infantry, standard infantry, and light vehicles. So I have two of these that have the auto cannon. Next, we have one of my las cannon guys. Now, this guy I worked really hard on, and I'm only showing you one of each just because they all have the same paint job, and I kind of gave each weapon their own look, their own helmets and stuff. So this is the las cannon. This is probably the best Havoc weapon. It specializes in anti-tank, like extreme anti-tank. So having this is really good and almost like a must-have. So as you can see, his helmet is really cool. It has all these wires coming out the back, and even one going into his eye, or his eye socket in his helmet, which then loops back around here to his power pack, which then goes into the las cannon. An absolutely amazing model. The loyalist equivalent would be like a Devastator squad, but the Devastator squad is still the tactical marines, whereas these guys are very new models. So in total I have 4 with las cannons, as they are the ones I primarily use. So if I were to take a squad of 5, which I normally do, technically I could bring them all with las cannons if I wanted to. And here we have the heavy bolter Havoc. So his helmet is a little bit different. It's again has some of those wires, but not as extreme as the heavy bolter guy. You can see the cords, again, not as many, going from his helmet into his pack, then going down into the weapon along with this massive ammo chain. So the heavy bolter is mainly used for taking out heavy and elite infantry. And I have 2 of these. So I have 2 anti-elite infantry, 2 standard infantry and light vehicles, and 4 heavy armor and tanks, which I think is the perfect combination, and 10 is more than enough than you need for Havocs. Now, Havocs also come with what is called a Havoc Champion, which do not have the same weapons as the normal Havocs. They have these kinds of weapons here. So this is a Havoc Champion here who has a Volkite rifle, or a plasma rifle, traitor plasma rifle in one hand, and a cursed sword in the other, with his winged Night Lord helmet. I really love these helmets. You know, they're not super cartoony like we saw with some of the warp talents, but I love them all the same, and I gave him this little cloak with skin and blood at the bottom. The other Havoc Champion is this guy. So this guy, again, is probably better posed. I don't know why I couldn't get the right pose for the other one. So again, he has the Volkite rifle with a chainsword, which is really cool. And again, his helmet is the same. So those are my Havocs. I absolutely love them, and they are some of my favorite units that I've painted in this army. Now, leading them, and again, I would not necessarily run these guys with these leaders, I just needed somewhere to put them, is a Chaos Lord. Now, this is Lord Cranin. This was one of my first Chaos Lords that I bought and painted for my Night Lord's army, but I recently decided to, you know, get some actual proper official Night Lords Chaos Lords, but I still do use him. So I painted him up as a Night Lord with his sword and his, I believe that's a plasma pistol. He is not a bad unit by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he is very good in game. But just aesthetically wise, he is a standard, just bog standard Chaos Lord as compared to some of the official Chaos Lords that we have seen, such as the 2 that I showed at the beginning and Savitar. So next up we have my Possessed and my Obliterators. So we'll start with the Possessed. So the Possessed are the Chaos Space Marine Elite melee units. Now, I was initially hesitant on getting these guys as they are kind of demonic, but I have 15, which isn't that many, and I painted them up really well, so I am kind of proud of them. So they are very large models, and they have some extremely cool mutations. I'll show you a few of them. So we have this guy who has gone with a claw and then this crab-like pincer on one hand. There's this guy with these massive tentacles shooting out of him. I don't know how clear this is, but I hope it's clear. Really, really cool. But yeah, really, really cool. Another unit that I just wanted to show is this guy who actually has a demon head or a possessed head with a demonic claw and a massive pincer. Next, I'm only going to show a few more, is this guy who has a massive tendril coming out of one arm. And for the last unit I'll show is this guy. So these guys run super fast at the enemy and just shred all kinds of units. Basically anything that isn't a vehicle, these guys can tear through. Standard infantry, elite infantry, terminators, whatever, these guys just make short work of them. But yeah, I don't actually use them that often in gameplay, but I just wanted to have them anyway. Now, who is leading my possessed, you might be wondering. So let's have a look. So for our first leader, we have a Master of Possession, or one of my Master of Possessions. So this unit specializes in leading possessed, and actually chosen for some reason, but he specializes in leading possessed, granting them extreme buffs, which just makes him even more deadlier in close quarters combat. This model is so cool. He has this ram's helmet. This one I chose to paint black or gray, as well as this little, I don't know, demon skull on his little staff. And I also, he does have fire on him. I decided to give this guy green fire, just to kind of fit the whole balefire look that we've seen so far. Next is my other Master of Possession, with a little bit more detail. So as you can see, he has, I gave this guy a white goat head with some horns, again with the green balefire. I'm not going to spend too much time on him, as he is the same model that we have gone over. But yeah, so I have two Master of Possessions, which I mainly use for my possessed. And the last leader unit is this guy. This is the Dark Apostle. So he specializes in leading two types of units, both cultists and the possessed. So again, he has the green balefire, which I just think is, technically you can paint the fire whatever colors you want, but with the balefire theme, especially in my legionaries, I think it just fits. And I gave him a custom helmet that I got off of Archie's Forge. He has this staff, which I don't think is used for casting as much as it is for hitting people. And he has this burning tome with arcane knowledge. Definitely a really cool model. It's an older model, but it is still really cool. So I forgot to include this in the video, and Lords ever got. So he is equipped with, I can't tell if this is meant to be a power fist or lightning claws, but his main weapon that the unit is famous for is this combi bolter. So this is a bolter combined with a flamer, and yeah, and this model is just so cool. So next up we have my obliterators, and I only have 4 of them, but that's more than enough. So obliterators are extremely heavy duty units, specializing in taking out light vehicles and extreme elite units. Now these guys are very interesting in terms of their design. They are almost like a halfway point between a Hellbrute and a standard Terminator. So these guys are essentially guys who have fused with their armor, which just makes them even more cool. So they have these massive fists with weapons on them. So this guy has a bolter in this fist, and I believe a bolter in this fist as well. And then I believe it's a Vulcan cannon or a minigun on his upper shoulder. But you can also see that there is like this mouth thing going on here, and I don't know if it'll show you his face, but that's what they look like. They are absolutely entombed in their armor. Next is this guy. Very similar, but just different. I tried to do this guy a little bit fancier paint job. Same weapon loadout with the gauntlets with the bolters. This guy actually has a flamer on his, which is really cool, whereas this guy just has a bolter and again the Vulcan minigun. I really like these guys. I think they're great. Next up is this guy. So he just has the Stormbolter on one hand and a Stormbolter on the other hand. He has a plasma cannon or a Volkite cannon on his shoulder. And yeah. And lastly is this fellow. So again, Stormbolter. And what does he have on his shoulder? I believe that is another plasma cannon. So really good units. Normally you only need 2, but me being me, I decided to get 4 just in case, since they all have different loadouts. They're great for taking out. They're not as good as Havocs for taking out vehicles and stuff, but they are great for taking down units such as Terminators or just wrecking havoc through small squads. So yeah, let's move on. So next up we have my cultists. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on these guys. Cultists are just basically cannon fodder. You send them in to try and get objectives or to soak up bullets for some of your other units. They have very crude weapons, like this guy just has a kind of slug thrower with a knife. There are actually some very interesting models in them. This guy has like a gas mask with a morning star. This guy has, for example, like a commissar, so I'm assuming this is like a I'm assuming this is either a fallen commissar or someone who killed a commissar and took his coat. But I have 30 of these guys, and they are great for both objectives and also just soaking up bullets. So for example, if you're leading a squad of Chosen in, you send these guys ahead of them first, so you don't... So the enemy doesn't have line of sight on the Chosen, they have line of sight on these guys. Now leading them is my Dark Commune. Now this is a very interesting and very niche unit. These guys basically operate to buff cultists, giving them more power, more feel no pains, stuff like that. They are not needed at all. I just found the models to be very cool, so that's why I got them. But they are absolutely not needed if you are considering getting a Night Lord's army. But if you are interested in going the cultist route, I think they are worthwhile. One of the things that I really like about Chaos armies is that each faction kind of has its own unit that is almost like their signature. So kind of, for example, how the Blood Angels have the Assault Intercessors and Jump Pack Intercessors, and the Dark Angels have the Blade Guard, and the White Scars have the Jet Bikes, stuff like that. So for the Night Lords, it is the Raptors and the Warp Talons, since they are all about jump packs and stuff. So that is the Chosen. Oh, sorry, that is the so that is the cultists and the Dark Commune. I would say if you are interested in going for the cultist route, because you can absolutely just swarm your enemy with cultists, if that is something you're interested in doing, then I would absolutely recommend getting a Dark Commune. So next up we have my Dreadnoughts and Hellbrutes. Now, Hellbrutes are still usable in 10th edition. However, I did not know that Chaos has lost its Dreadnoughts, which I only found out after the fact, after I bought them. So I have 2 Hellbrutes, I have 3 Leviathan Dreadnoughts, and 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So let's have a look at them. So first up is this Hellbrute. So as you can see, he has a multi-melter in one hand and a hand in the other. Now, because this is a very limited model, I didn't want to cut the arm off, so I got the hammer and I just magnetized it to it, so technically I can use it as a hammer for a pure anti-monster unit. But yeah. The other Hellbrute is this guy. So whereas the first one specialized in anti-tank, anti-monster, this guy is pure anti-infantry. So again, he has a plasma cannon to deal with infantry and light vehicles, as well as these tentacles, which are great for quickly dispatching enemy infantry of all kinds. So I have 1 anti-infantry, 1 anti-monster, anti-vehicle. So let's start on my Leviathan Dreadnoughts. So this is actually the first Leviathan Dreadnought that I got. So he is equipped with a Melter Lance and a Flux Bombard. So the Flux Bombard is great for dealing with anti-elite infantry or very tough foes, even, captains and stuff like that. Whereas the Melter Lance is for taking out vehicles and stuff like that, but it can still be used for anti-infantry. So this is the official Night Lord's Leviathan model. So as you can see, he has the head, he has the symbol on him, he has all of the different parts and scrolls, he has a poor sod who is basically attached to the chassis. Really, really good model. I added a little bit of lightning here and there, but yeah, I absolutely love this model, and even though I can't use them, I think it's fitting for them to have dreadnoughts. Next is this Leviathan. So this guy is just a standard Leviathan, not an official Night Lord's model, just a standard Leviathan I painted up in Night Lord's colors. So I gave him dual quad cannons for taking out infantry, just absolutely shredding them. I gave him some transfers, and despite not being a Night Lord's model, I did attach a little guide to him from something I got on Etsy, just to kind of mirror this, but just a little bit smaller. And for our last Leviathan, we have this custom model that I made. So this is a kit bash. So first off, we have the main chassis here, and we have this poor person up here who is essentially skinned alive and chained up here along with a bunch of Space Marine helmets. This took me ages to do and ages to find this on Etsy, but I really like how it turned out. This is another example of what I was talking about the creative kind of freedom you have for Chaos Space Marines. This guy's equipped with dual siege drills, so he can essentially shred enemy vehicles and tanks, which is great for a Leviathan because Leviathans are a lot tougher, so they're able to kind of get close to a vehicle a lot safer. Now, for the Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So here are the Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So we'll start with this guy. So this guy has a very unique model, specific to the Night Lord's Legion. So he has this symbol on his shoulder, he has the white helmet, he has this massive decorations of bones and skulls. The way I painted this was I used some light brown bone color, then added some bits of Old Blood and New Blood FX paints, and then used some streak and grime over it. There is a frayed face stretched over one of his knee pads. He has this little loincloth, and there are so many bones and bits on this model. So on the back you can see that there's 3 skulls and a severed head. There's bones on this shoulder, there's bones there, and yeah, I just think this model is so cool. So for his weapons, on one hand I gave him a heavy las cannon, and on the other I gave him a heavy stubber, but I am replacing the heavy stubber soon with a dual plasma decimator, so that way I have anti-tank and anti-elite infantry, whereas this is just standard anti-infantry. And for the other Contemptor Dreadnought, we have this guy. So this guy is an extremely kit-bashed model that I used a lot of parts on Etsy to do. So we have this over here, his trophies. We have the hands and everything hanging from him. We have the loincloth covered in blood, and I added some paint underneath. Just on the base, there's another bit here. At first I thought those were scrolls, but then I was like, oh no, this is Night Lords, this is definitely bones. And yeah, I really like this model a lot. And for his weapons, he has dual claws. So this guy is basically pure anti-infantry melee. So this guy, especially being a Contemptor, is able to roll up on units and just shred them to pieces. But yeah, that is my Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Oh, and I also forgot to show and mention during the Leviathan bit, but these are my Warpsmiths, which are essentially Chaos Tech Marines. So these guys serve the exact same purpose, but I really like them. This guy, I gave him the wrong base. This guy, I gave him the wrong base because I did not know at the time that it needed to be oval. But normally they come with axes, but I decided to give this guy a little power hammer as well as his plasma pistol. So really good. And so in total I have 3 Warpsmiths. This is my other one. So same thing, very similar paint job, just with a red cloak and a axe instead of a hammer. But yeah, I really like him. I absolutely love this model just as much as I love the Tech Marine. But let's move on. So here are my non-Night Lords units that I have in my army. So we'll start with the first one, who I did convert, and that is Harkin World Claimer. So he is a really good model who is excellent at leading, and has this awesome pose of him like thrusting a staff. And I head swapped him just to give him a Night Lord's helmet. I painted him up as a Night Lord, and yeah, not much really else to say about him. So the other 2 units that I have that are not Night Lords units, but I felt I should include in any Chaos Space Marine army. So first up, we have Abaddon the Despoiler. This is an amazing model. I absolutely love this. His sword, his trophy rack, again with the Tau head, the massive claw that belonged to Horus, him stepping on all the dead Ultramarines. This model is just so detailed, and it's crazy. And I'll get into something about him and the other character in a second. So the other character is Fabius Bile. Now, initially I had planned on kit bashing him by swapping out his head for some Night Lord parts and kind of painting him as such. But after I read the Fabius Bile trilogy, I decided that, you know what, I really like Bile as a character, so we are going to keep him. Now, the main reason I got Bile is that he is essentially the only apothecary equivalent or healer unit for Chaos Space Marines. And the reason I got Abaddon is, one, because he just feels like he fits in with any Chaos Marine army, and two, because his buffs that he gives for Terminators are insane. And similar to Bile, I had considered doing a full kit bash of this guy and turning him into a Night Lord's champion. But after going back and forward on it, the paint job that I did on him is exquisite. I think it's really good, and I don't want to ruin it. If anything, I might do a Night Lord champion out of the No Human Blackheart model, but I think Abaddon is great as is. And then also we just have Bile's little Grandhound assistant, which is just so cute. I love this guy to bits. Anyway, let's move on to the last part of this army showcase, the vehicles. Sorry, I forgot. So before we get to the vehicles, we have these three demonic units to talk about. So, as I said, I really do not like demons, but I made an exception for these guys. So let's get into them one at a time. So first off, this is my Night Lord's Winged Demon Prince. So again, he technically was a space marine who became a demon prince rather than being a creature of the warp holy. And as you can see, he still has traces of some of his Astartes armor on, as well as the Night Lord's sigil. This is the helmet that I went with. I was considering going with the Tzeentchian helmet, but I think this one just looks a lot better. But the Tzeentchian one is really cool. He has this massive sword with this little pink inscription that I did, which is so cool. This unit has the option of either going with his fists, a sword, or an axe. I think the axe is actually the best option, but I just think the sword looks cooler. And Rule of Cool always wins. And then for his wings, I did the membrane in this kind of deep saturated red with this blue black kind of spines going down with them. So this is a very, very strong unit, which is why I included him in my army, but I don't necessarily use him that much, and I'll show you why in a second. So, speaking of demon princes, this is a custom kit bash that I made with some Saturnine bits, some Balefire Sorcerer bits, and some Night Lord helmets. So this I use as my non-winged demon prince. They are actually two different units with very different abilities, but this is my custom non-winged one, and this guy does not look very demonic. He has this massive axe, which I just made out of spare parts that I have, and he has this little balefire thing, so he's able to do both sorcery and melee. His shoulders are that of a Saturnine Terminator, but he just has a normal Night Lord's head, which I think is really cool. He also has this nice little piece going down his chest and between his legs. And on the back you see the plasma and energy going into his Saturnine armor. So I really like this guy. I was looking at some of the non-winged demon models and they were just too demonic for me. Having one is enough, but I think this is a perfect example. And yeah, I use this guy more than I use the winged demon prince. And lastly, this is basically the closest that I get to an actual demon unit. So this is the Lord Discordant. and I got this model mainly just because I really, really wanted to paint it. So technically, the Lord Discordant is actually the rider of the beast, not the beast itself. So technically, the unit is not a demon, but let's be honest, it is a demon. So it has these fangs dripping with venom, these armor plates going all around it, these different weapons and tails and everything, this banner. The Lord Discordant has this massive sword, where on this demon he almost has this like harpoon launcher looking thing. Maybe it's a missile launcher, I actually can't remember. But yeah, I really, really like this model. Again, I don't really use him that much in actual gameplay, but this was something that I just bought just because I've really, really wanted to paint it. I've also wanted to do the same with the Venom Crawler, but I've decided not to because, no demons are allowed in my army, despite me literally holding a demon. So, let's move on to the final section, the vehicles. So these are my vehicles, a Land Raider, a Predator Annihilator, 2 Rhinos, a Vindicator, and 4 Bikers, but let's have a closer look at them. So we will start with the Bikers. Now personally, I'm not a big fan of the Bikers, actually, especially the Chaos Bikers. My Blood Angels ones are kind of cool because they are some of the Primaris ones. But I mainly just got these guys just to technically have them in my army, and I only got 4, just because I think that's a decent amount. I can run them in one squad of 4 to just kind of harry the enemy, or in one group of 4. Sorry, I think I messed it up. I meant to say in 2 groups of 2 or 1 group of 4. So each of them have different weapons. This guy has a Volkite rifle. This guy doesn't seem to have any weapon apart from the bolters on his bike. This guy has a bolter. And this guy has, what does this guy have? This guy has what appears to be another Volkite. So those are the bikes. So next up we have one of my Rhinos. Now I have gone extremely creative in customizing these and making them really Night Lords-esque. So again, you can see the lightning on them. If you're unfamiliar, the Night Lords adorn their armor and vehicles with lightning from Nostromo. So let's start. So this is my Rhino here, and let's take a in-depth look at all of the different parts. So on the back you see lightning with the sigil, and you also see on the bottom that it also has the snow and the tracks similar to the snow on the bases. So this is some flayed skin that I made using rolling paper. If you are interested in making flayed skin for any of your miniatures, regardless of the army, I have tried tissues, I have tried paper towel, and all of them, disintegrate and, rot really easily. But rolling papers really hold up, which is what I used for this. So I painted this with Barbarian Flesh and then did some edge highlighting with True Blood and Old Blood. So again, on the door you see the lightning and the Night Lord's symbol. On the front of the vehicle, we have a crucified civilian. Really cool. Again, I got these off Etsy and they are just amazing. And then over here, we have a dead blood angel hanging upside down. That has been nailed to the vehicle. So what I've done is, because I play Blood Angels, a lot of my old broken is the best time to have a wee snack. So next up is our other Rhino. So again, flayed skin, not as much. The Night Lord symbol, another crucified civilian. Actually, this one isn't crucified, this one is just tied up on top of some flayed skin. More flayed skin, a dead blood angel nailed to the side, and yeah. See, this is why I love doing Night Lord stuff, because you can really just go into your inner psychopath and just make absolute atrocities, and it's so much fun. So next we have our Predator Annihilator. So this is the Predator, one of the few tanks that you can run as a Chaos Space Marine army. The Predator Annihilator variant is specifically anti-tank. The standard Predator, I believe it's the Predator Destructor, is just a standard tank that specializes in anti-infantry and kind of all-round purpose, whereas this is anti-tank, which is mainly what I was looking for. So let's go around. So again, civilian, not crucified, but nailed to a piece of wood and then nailed to the front of it. You have this little spiky grill and all of these different trophies and stuff, which are cool. Tons and tons of skulls all over the place. And we also have some, I believe that is a heavy las cannon on either side, so this is great for taking out tanks before they can take out your anti-tank. Next is kind of a surprise actually, but it is the Vindicator. So here is the front of it. There's a skull there, just, you know, like as if it's picking up stuff as it's moving its front along. Some more flayed skin. I don't have as much customization on this one. Some Tau skin there, again just to annoy my friend. And some more flayed skin, this time of a different tone. For most of my flayed skin like this, I used barbarian flesh. This one I used a different type of flesh color, which is much more paler. Now, it also has a guy on the turret, which is really cool. Now, you might be wondering, why do you have a Vindicator in your Chaos Space Marine army? I initially had considered using this for my Blood Angels army, because I had been wanting a Vindicator for a long time, but I thought, you know what, I have enough vehicles and dreadnoughts in my Blood Angels army to make a whole army out of them, whereas the Night Lords could use some extra firepower. So that's what I got. This is meant for breaching and for essentially destroying enemy vehicles at extreme close range. And then finally, last but certainly not least, is my Chaos Land Raider. I absolutely love this. This is probably my favorite vehicle I have for my Night Lords. So let's start at the front. Crucified civilian. This one is actually crucified. Flayed skin with some blood. Again, we have twin las cannons on either side. On the back, nothing much, just some snow decals. Again, we have some lightning effects. There is a hatch here with a guy poking his head out, but no weapon. Twin las cannons, skin, dead blood angel nailed to the tank, and then some heavy bolters there. Sorry, to standard bolters, and yeah. Also, there are some trophy racks here, so as you can see, there are skulls and stuff. I added some blood to the top of the spikes, and I had a Blood Angels Terminator break off his hand, and I could not get it on to fix it. Because it was a very bad break, so instead I just used the hand and added it to the trophy rack here, which is really good. So that is it for my Night Lords army, everyone. I hope you enjoyed. So that is it for my Warhammer 40k Night Lords army showcase. I really hope you enjoyed watching this. This has been an absolute joy to collect. I absolutely love the Night Lords, and I really love the army and the models, and I actually can't wait to get the new Shadow Hunt kill team, which I plan on doing soon. So thank you again for watching so much. If you play Night Lords or have a Night Lords army, please leave your feedback below as to what you think of my army. And let me know, has this video convinced you to try out Night Lords? And if so, why? Is it because of the books? Is it because of my army showcase? I'm genuinely interested in why you might be considering a Night Lord's army. It's genuinely not just for engagement. I am truly interested. So this has been Crimson. Thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means the world to me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.